morning, buenos dias, calimera, bonjour, buona mattina. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm thrilled to be here with all of you. As Anne mentioned, my name is Paula Garay, and I am a proud mother, stepmother, wife, and United States citizen naturalized, who has the honor of serving as the Women's Health Initiative Director at OPTIMUS Health Care. Today, I also have the distinct pleasure of sharing my personal story and speaking with all of you in support of the amazing work that Building One Community is doing. Let me begin with one question today. Who can you trust? Take a moment to ask yourself that. The answer, of course, will vary from everyone in this room. And those answers will depend significantly on your unique life experiences. Today, I want to talk about trust and how it relates to the immigrant experience, and why it is so essential that we support the organizations that, in essence, deliver trust and so much more. These are organizations that people can count on, organizations that demonstrate there is good in the world by providing vital resources, support, and guidance. With compassion and care, they show that there is hope. There are people you can count on. There are people you can trust. Because I can tell you from personal and painful experiences as a former undocumented immigrant, that when trust is left to chance, there's really no telling what can happen. Another step in my journey towards trust starts right now, actually, with the hundreds of people in this room, many of whom I have never even met, by sharing a part of my immigrant story. A story that until this very moment today, I have shared with fewer people that I can count on one hand. I do so not just for me, although admittedly I suspect that in some ways it'll be cathartic, but more so I'm sharing my story for the countless others who are not here with us today. Those who don't have a platform for their voice to be heard. Last year, many of you attending the same event had the privilege of hearing attorney Luis Canales tell of his heart-wrenching journey from Honduras to the United States. If you were here, then you cannot forget the emotional moment in which he held up a pair of worn black sneakers. Sneakers he wore on his 4 harrowing attempts to achieve asylum in the United States. Sneakers that ultimately carried him to freedom, to a better life. These right here are the shoes that saved my life, he said. To me, they are worth $1 million because they saved my life. As I prepared for today, I thought about the poignancy of that moment, and I imagined how powerful and beautiful it would be to somehow gather all the shoes of others who have made it, of all of us who have come to this country successfully, and find someone with a vision to create a work of art to honor the human perseverance they represent. Then I had another, more unsettling thought, how devastating it would be to see the untold number of shoes of those who never reached their destination. Those of whom their stories ended with despair, disappointment, and even death. Because I know, as many of us in this room know, that the vast majority go through hell and back to get here, despite the prevalent and pervasive myths and misconceptions around immigrants. And they only come here for a better life, not to inflict harm on others or to take something they haven't earned. Because life as an undocumented immigrant, I can tell you, is never the first choice anyone ever wants to make. It is a choice that is made out of necessity, when all other options of living a safe and free life in your home country have been taken away. It's a choice that comes with the promise of potential opportunities, but also comes with tremendous risk. There is no easy path to the United States. Everyone, it seems, pays a steep price to get here. And if more people knew these stories, the real stories of remarkable human perseverance, courage, and sacrifice, then maybe some of the disdain and distrust would turn into respect and compassion. My hope is that through my story, in some ways a universal story, you will be awakened to the realities of what immigrants and undocumented Americans endure, and inspired to do whatever you can to provide hope and opportunity. When I was 3 years old, my biological father left my mother, myself, and my 3 siblings to start a new life with another woman. That would be the absolute last time that I saw my biological father as a tiny little toddler. I could have seen him on the street, would have never even known it was him. He never came back, never checked on us, and completely forgot about the fact that he had an entire family in his previous life. Due to this, my mother was left to fend for herself and all of us. As a single mother of 4 children, I was the youngest, the baby. My mother was a seamstress, and she tried her best. Yet all that she did to try to provide for us was not enough to sustain the needs of an adult and 4 children. When I was 5 years old, my mother was offered the opportunity to immigrate from Chile here to the United States. This was an opportunity that promised great potential, a chance to escape poverty, and all of the great pains that come with trying to raise children in an impoverished country when you have no support, when you're a single parent. This opportunity came with a steep sacrifice. In order to come to the United States to achieve the American dream of freedom and opportunity for her family, she would have to first embark on this journey alone. She would have to leave her 4 young children behind, as so many other parents have had to do. This is not a unique story. I believe it was in this critical moment for our family when my brave mother chose to make this immense sacrifice that our American story was born out of her heart. A story of hope and courage so big that only America can contain it. The plan was for her to come to the United States, work hard, and send money back home. My mother arranged for my siblings and I to live with her parents while she was away. And while we missed our brave mother dearly, for a brief period we were content children, living under the care of our beloved grandparents. Life was different, of course, but overall good and happy. We were taken care of. We were safe and beyond loved, extremely loved. The bliss lasted about 1 year, and all that changed one day when my grandfather suddenly fell ill and my grandparents had to move so we could get proper medical care because we could not make the journey with them. We had no choice but to move into our aunt's house, who was also living with her boyfriend. I was only 6 years old. And I couldn't have known that I had just moved into the lair of an abuser, a manipulator, a monster. The average 6-year-old girl is few inches taller than a yardstick. I have a 5-year-old, so she's about like this big. She weighs on average about 45 pounds. Most 6-year-olds under healthy circumstances live in a world of wonder, of exploration, of carefree joy. Child development experts say that this is the age that children really love to play with friends. They start to gain the capacity to express feelings clearly. Many begin to display a growing sense of independence while still relying on the love, care, and attention of the adults in their lives. It was 1991 when I was 6 years old. Cabbage Patch Kids were all the rage for girls around the world, but I didn't have one. My focus was solely on survival. From that tender age, and for the next 6 years that followed, until I turned 12, my aunt's boyfriend abused me and violated me on a daily basis. For 6 years, I endured unthinkable and until very recently, unspeakable terror and pain. He weaponized food, starving me if I resisted. He said if I told anyone what he was doing, he would kill my aunt. It's a common story these perpetrators say to young children. And worse, he would hurt my best friend, my older sister. I had no reason to doubt he was telling the truth. After all, what did I know at 6 years old? In my young mind, if he was capable of doing what he was doing to me on a daily basis, then he was also capable of murder. This man stole my childhood. I have no happy memories of my childhood, and it is all because of him. I know from my work today with undocumented children and families that, sadly, I am far from alone in this fate, the fate of so many children left behind while their parents come to America to provide for a better life. My heart shatters all over again, and I tremble when I see the pain inflicted on these innocent children. When I hear similar stories, I am taken back to those horrendous 6 years of torture. He shattered my capacity for trust. He instilled in me that any man, pose a threat. I carried this distrust of men with me for decades. Soon after turning 12, my courageous mother had finally saved enough money to bring me and my siblings to America, essentially saving my life and fulfilling her promise to us and upholding our trust in her. She worked for years without taking a day off, about 3.5 years, and met a wonderful man. He was an angel of a person and would become my stepfather. Everything my mother had built was 100% for us. After years of being abused by a real-life monster and enduring a lifetime of poverty, one thing sustained me: witnessing my mother's bravery and her trust in the American dream. She showed me from an early age to never give up. It's a trait my older sister, my other hero, also shared with my mother. They inspired me to always believe in my dreams and to never stop fighting to achieve them. I didn't realize at the time, but in essence, they had already taught me what it meant to be an American, even before I was able to become a legal U.S. citizen. For the next 13 years, I lived in America as an undocumented immigrant. I couldn't speak any English, zero. I knew what hello meant, but I didn't know what hi or any other variation of it meant. We had no idea where to even begin to find the help and resources that are needed to make a successful life in this country that prides itself on opening its arms to the tired, the poor, and the vulnerable. Thank you. Early on in my American journey, I always felt out of place. Other speakers this morning mentioned the feeling of just sometimes feeling lost and feeling like you don't belong. And I continued to be unsure and scared. Every day I lived in fear that at any moment my sister and I could be taken away, and all the pain, trauma, and sacrifice we endured would have been for nothing. By the time I was a young adult in my early 20s, my dream was simply to be able to enroll in college. I just had this bug inside of me, and I just wanted to educate myself. I wanted to better myself. I was hoping with years of childhood abuse and learning a new language in a foreign country, all while we worked so hard to put the fragile pieces of our family back together. People often envision a joyful family reunion when immigrants are finally reunited with their loved ones in the States. And while it is a beautiful moment of gratitude and happiness to finally be reunited with each other, it is also simultaneously a moment filled with grief. Grief for the years we weren't able to be together. Grief for the family and friends and the country we had to leave behind. Grief for those of us who were abused and neglected by people who were supposed to protect us. After years of trying to overcome my past agonizing experiences, I turned to the one person I knew I could still count on, myself. From that moment on, I worked even harder, from morning through night, literally all night, all morning. I could never do that today. Thank God I was younger. I held 3 jobs and worked every hour that I could. I saved and saved and saved and saved and saved. And eventually I was able to hire a really good and extremely expensive U.S. immigration attorney. All of this while being in college, paying international student fees, which come out to double the actual tuition of domestic students, and also working hard to educate and better myself. By this time, due to overstaying my welcome as a tourist, I was facing deportation. After years of navigating the complicated American immigration legal system on my own, because we didn't have a place like Building One community back then, the attorney that I so tirelessly worked hard to hire was able to find a way forward that would allow me to finally achieve my dream of becoming a naturalized U.S. citizen. The very next day, after officially being sworn in as an American citizen, I enrolled in school as a domestic student, saved money, and today, I stand before you holding a total of 4 degrees. Thank you. I earned a Bachelor's of Science in Social Sciences and Human Services, a Master of Arts in Adult Development, a Master of Business Administration in Management and Operations, and a Doctor of Health Sciences in Public Health. Thank you. A few years earlier, actually in college at the University of Bridgeport, I had met my husband, and it was not until a few years later, after I had all my ducks in a row and my things in order, I couldn't think of a relationship, we began dating and building a life together. He's here with us today, actually, and even though he's a police sergeant, I'm ordering him to stand. Sorry. I warned him of this moment and did grant him the right to remain silent. He doesn't have to say anything. He is a huge part of my success story. It is in his kindness, consistency, and love, acceptance and unwavering patience that taught me trust is possible, that I am able to trust a man. He understands my trauma and accepts me with all the history I come with, which is a lot. It's a lot of baggage, a lot of suitcases filled. The reality is my childhood abuse has shaped the way I parent today. I'm so grateful that he makes a way for my overprotectiveness towards our children. He does not judge some of my decisions that may think keep our children extra sheltered. I really don't let them off our sight. If they're not with us or my mother or my sisters, they don't go anywhere. And he supports it. He understands. There are no words to define the value of this gift he has given me and what this gift has allowed me to give to others. To my 3 beautiful, soon-to-be 4 children. To my to my incredible stepson, to my family and my friends, and to those who I work with, many of whom have endured so much, yet possess so much potential. Some of them who share very similar stories to mine. I know now through my work at OPTIMUS that many children are physically or sexually abused when their parents immigrate to the United States in search of safety or for a better life, and have no choice but to leave their kids behind in potentially dangerous situations. As a Women's Health Initiative Director, I have the privilege of leading a very special program. It's called the Emme Coalition. Emme is a grant-funded program by the Fund for Women and Girls through the Fairfield County Community Foundation. We have an extremely heavy caseload that's comprised of women and girls living in Bridgeport, the majority of which are immigrants, undocumented immigrants, who share a very similar story to mine. Children are, by nature, vulnerable. It is in their inherent vulnerability that around the world, we have always agreed to the social contract of working together to protect and care for all children. Yet in the last few years alone, 1,000 or more immigrant children who have arrived at the southern U.S. border without their parents have reported being sexually abused while in government custody. And we know that that's only a fraction of the total number of abuse cases that are actually taking place. That's astonishing to me. So I ask you again, who can you trust? Far too many undocumented immigrants don't have a good answer to that question. And that is why it is so vitally important that we support the good works of organizations such as Building One Community, who through their work provide essential resources, support, and guidance. Even more, they offer empathy and compassion that can put people on the path to trusting others, to trusting themselves. That is the only true path to realizing one's true potential. It is a path that has led thousands of immigrants to achieving the American dream. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. That's a rough English translation of an ancient Chinese proverb that I have tattooed as a permanent and important reminder. While short in length, its meaning runs deep. It's an adage that's based on the underlying concept of trust in the future. That at the end of the day, when all else fails, you can always will be able to trust yourself to get up one more time, to not give up, and keep searching for the help and support that you need to get you to your finish line, to trust yourself to achieve your dreams. I'd like to close today with another question. Ask yourself, who can trust you? Who can trust us? Who can trust us when our fellow human beings are at their most vulnerable, even desperate? when everything and everyone around them is unknown, when all they want to do is live a good life, care for their family, give back, and be a productive member of the community. That is all an American immigrant truly wants. As an immigrant, undocumented or not, knowing there are people they can trust, people like all of us in this room, is a priceless gift. It is my greatest hope that if there's one thing that everyone in this room remembers for our time together today, is that Building One Community is an organization we can all trust. Well, I can never change the past struggles of my life and what it was like of growing up in an impoverished country, suffer abuse, and grew up in America as an undocumented immigrant. I use this experience as my compass to share my story in solidarity and support of every person who aspires to achieve the American dream. With the right supporters in their corner, there is nothing an American immigrant cannot achieve. Thank you for being here today, for listening to my story, and for making the great work of Building One Community a reality. And thank you for trusting the thousands of women and children and men who sacrifice everything for the chance of living the American dream. Thank you.